everybody. Thank you for coming to our business breakfast. We're delighted to have such a great turnout. You know, if you want to comment to one of us after and explain why, we'd love to know why you came this morning. But this morning we have a couple announcements, and then I'll introduce Angelo. So we have the Business of the Year, which many of you may have now seen in your emails. Business of the Year is going to be announced on March 31st, and between this month is nomination time. So have your business nominated, and the number of nominations is important. So the more nominations you get, the more likely you'll be in the top 3 that will be voted upon in March. So what makes it really kind of exciting and neat, and you know, as I explore this further, is that we won't know how many nominations our businesses are getting, but we want to be in those top 3. So get as many as you possibly can, and send the email out to your friends and your clients and your other business partners, and get as many nominations as possible and become Business of the Year. That would be really exciting, especially in the different categories that we have: new business, business for a year, that been town a year, longevity, philanthropy, and overall achievement. Also, I wanted to make you aware to just keep posted on the small business seminar series that we're sponsoring with the SCORE, the Newtown Savings Bank, and EDC. The first event of that is March 13th, Internet Marketing Basics. So we're going to have some pretty good topics that people can learn a lot about. That's March 13th at 8 o'clock in the morning at Booth Library.
Tim, I have some flyers I put up front too, if you're interested up there. And it will be at the library in the meeting room. They say they'll be set and ready for us with Wi-Fi and everything, so
oh, good.
It'll be great.
Yeah, it's always great to have Wi-Fi.
Thank you.
So thank you for that. And this morning we have a speaker everybody knows in so many ways, personally. Angelo really has stepped out in the community. He's been a great citizen and member of our chamber, and of course he owns the restaurant we're in this morning, Sally Pepe Restaurant Bistro. And we're delighted to have Angelo. I always miss
Don't worry.
Angelo. I look forward to hearing stories, and also he's going to impart upon us some of his talents, learnings, and skills as a business owner and business manager in the last 28 years of experience. So, Angelo, we're looking forward to your talk.
Thank you. Thank you for coming out this morning. I was very worried that nobody would, because would anybody really want to hear what I had to say? I've been in the restaurant business for 28 years. Started out, my parents bought a restaurant in Stamford when I was 21. Was there for 10 years. It was a pasta restaurant, did phenomenally well until we all burnt out of it and we sold it. Then I opened a gourmet sandwich shop in Fairfield. I had that for 9 years. During those 9 years, for 5 of the years, we also ran a beach concession in Fairfield at Penfield Beach, and that was probably one of the best businesses I've ever been in. And then we opened up here. So it's quite a long, I don't know how that many years went by. Basically, for a good part of those years, probably about 22 years, I had basically stopped learning. I felt like, well, I got my college degree, and so I kind of went through 22 years. Although the businesses did well, certainly I did not work them to their potential. And 6 years ago, I got involved with a marketing group that specializes in restaurants called Restaurant Marketing Systems, and I have learned more from them than I ever learned in college. And it's been life-altering and also business-altering. So what I wanted to do was just share some of the things I've learned through this group that are applicable to other businesses, not just the restaurant business. So kind of my mentor is a gentleman by the name of Rory Fatt. He started out working for one of the big French fry companies, I think Ore-Ida. And they did big budget marketing, a lot of image marketing. And he did that for 10 years, won a lot of awards, was their top salesperson, and he did phenomenally well, but he didn't feel fulfilled. So he wanted to start his own small business, and he started this company that sold frozen, he's up in Vancouver, by the way. started a small company delivering prepared frozen meals to homes. And he applied the same principles that were used at Orida for his small business, and he almost went bankrupt. You can't do that kind of, you don't have the budget as a small business owner, and he wasn't seeing results. So he ended up turning to a group called a gentleman by the name of Dan Kennedy, who's really into direct marketing and helping small businesses. And that's where he started learning how to do direct marketing, and that ended up revolutionizing his business. And then through Dan Kennedy, he learned about pretty much kind of becoming a consultant yourself to other people and take your skills and help other people. And he started this company called Restaurant Marketing Systems, and he came up with all these marketing programs that other restaurants could use. The problem is none of these restaurant owners had the time to implement these programs. So and basically the customers were all saying, can't you help us, can't you do this for us, we don't have time for it. And out of that grew a company called Royalty Rewards, which many of you are probably members of. And that company has far exceeded his original company. He now has, I don't know how many millions of members. And the whole idea is that all your marketing becomes systematized. You build a database of your customers. You get to know who your customers are. You do demographic analysis. They do all this. I don't do any of it. What they do is they analyze who your best customers. They give you ways of reaching out to non-customers that fit the demographic profile of the customers you have, because, as a lot of us know, 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customer list. And the whole idea is to focus on that group, and it's a great way. One is to get your customers to come back more often, to market to people who are familiar with you and who already like you. That's kind of how this whole system worked. So basically, I heard of Rory Fatt. I think I joined a great website called restaurantowner.com. That's a wonderful resource. And through them, I got on Rory's mailing list. And I started getting these faxes. I decided to go to a boot camp that he had in Phoenix. It was 4 days long. I think I took notes in all 4 days. Unbelievable. I came out of there so stoked with so many ideas of what to do and to build a business. So basically 6 years ago is when this business really started taking off. And the idea is to look at advertising more as an investment. And to make your advertising as much as possible, to be able to track it, to see how it works, and then it all becomes a return on investment. So the whole idea is to test small, see if it works, see if it's worth it, and do it again over and over and over again, and that's how it works. All right. So basically the points I'm going to hit are just points that I learned that anybody can use. And one of them is to work to your strengths and do what you're good at. You got to kind of be good at analyzing yourself and seeing what your weaknesses are, and in most cases try to farm that out, delegate it to other people. Believe it or not, even though I'm a finance major, that's not my strength. Finance is not my strength. So go out and get people to help you with that, with budgeting, with things of that nature. I'm not good at designing ads. I use Tricia for that. They're great. I have a marketing idea or something I'm copying. You don't have to reinvent the book. Copy things right and left if you see something cool, and develop it towards what, your theme. So I call Tricia, I say, this is the idea I want to do. She makes it look pretty. I email it out. And in most cases it works great. The book that is kind of that they stress a lot in this group is a book by Napoleon Hill called Think and Grow Rich. I read the book. Most people in the group really rave about it. I appreciated the book, although I didn't really connect with, I think because it was written so many years ago. Basically, behind it is, I think Carnegie actually he didn't hire it, he got this author to, Carnegie opened the door for him to speak with and interview some of the best, most successful men in America and find out what traits they had in order to become so successful. And he did find these themes throughout these very wealthy men and the robber barons, of the 20s and 30s. One of them is burning desire. You have to have a burning desire to succeed. You can't be lackadaisical about it. That was one of the traits. Another one is to get specialized knowledge, and I certainly did that through this restaurant group. Another one is take decisive action. That's a really important one. And one, for many years in business, I did not take action because I wanted to make sure everything I sent out was perfect. And that's not what you need. It's more important to get it done and get it out and to take massive action. One of the things that they taught me is they can't teach me one thing to make $1 million, say. That one thing doesn't exist. But they can teach me 100 things. And the whole idea is to implement multiple things, see what works. You're going to have failures, you're going to have wastes, but to keep that as a learning lesson, you know not to repeat it, and you move on to the next thing. And another really important thing is a mastermind group. Belong to a mastermind group. He has a mastermind group of restaurant owners. We meet around the country every 4 months, and at the average meeting there's about 40 people. We're all restaurant owners. We're not in competition with one another. They are the most, literally, I mean, some of them have become great personal friends. They share, most of them have had the same challenges that you've had. They're very open with what's worked for them. We share things, and it's great to step out of your business and to work on your business rather than in your business. I am guilty of that so much, especially when money gets tight. I tend to take over shifts. I'm like, all right, well, I'll bartend 3 nights a week to try to cut down on payroll. And what ends up happening is it sucks all your energy, and then you're no good to anybody after that. And that's why we sold the first business we had. Myself, my sister, my mother, we all worked ourselves to death. We had no chef, we did everything ourselves. And the bottom line is after 10 years, we needed a break. So we sold a fantastic business. So there is a local gentleman by the name of Larry Gardner, which many of you know. He's very active in the Rotary. He's a business consultant, and he has, Steve knows because he's part of one of his mastermind groups. So there are local mastermind groups. I think in his case they have people from different industries. So you don't have like 2 people in, like I couldn't join Steve's group because we're both in food service and we do business with each other. But they're, it's a great way to learn from other people. One of the sayings that they use all the time is, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And that's know where it is you want to go. So you really need to take time to think and to set goals. I'm not naturally a goal setter, but it's amazing when you put things down in writing and then you look back, you end up reaching a lot of your goals because you have in mind what it is you want to accomplish. Another thing is to prioritize your to-do lists. If you focus on the things that will have the most impact on your business, we can all get lost in the details and spend time on making the perfect logo and making your perfect website and really, although some of those things may be important to you, they're really not important to a lot of your customers. So it's important to prioritize them and say, okay, this, and plan ahead. Like plan, ideally they say to plan a year in advance. I've never done that. But that's something. We had a speaker one day, unfortunately I don't remember their name. He is a consultant to entrepreneurs. And really his thing is to schedule a year in advance the use of your days. So one of them is free days. So you start off, for many years I worked 7 days a week. I had no free days. Many years I didn't take a vacation. So the idea is to have free days, mixed days, and on days. So on days, those are the days that you completely focus on your business, you cut out interruptions, and those are your most productive business days, and you plan on them. Mixed days are days that they're kind of a mix of the free days and where you can work somewhat on your business, but you also take time off. And then free days, you are not allowed to think or do anything on your business. You do things that bring you joy. And that's, you know, for my wife, it's horseback riding. She loves horseback riding, and I totally encourage it because she comes back just refreshed. And for me, it's cars. I absolutely love sports cars, and I joined a club in Manhattan that has like 40 performance automobiles, and you're allowed to take them out for a day or two or however many days you want, as long as you're willing to pay for it. But to get behind the wheel for me of a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, an Aston Martin, and I drove all the cars I dreamed of. And although it's not really in my plan to own one of those cars, but just to drive them around was just great. So that's kind of the plan. And in their analysis, business owners that did that, their businesses grew exponentially. The more free days they took, the more successful they were, and the more business. And we're talking people that into the millions of dollars. So it recharges your batteries so that you have time to be productive in the end. We already talked about take time to work on your business and not in your business. I never thought I'd be able to do that. And so many of the things, you know, from the first year to the second year, I would think, well, this is never going to work in my business. I mean, that was constantly the thought in my mind, well, that's not going to work. And then when I really focused on it and worked towards it and tried some of these things out, they worked in my business. So try to have an open mind. Another gentleman I got involved with is David Scott Peters. He is an operations person. He was like the CFO of multiple franchises. And his whole thing was to make franchise systems for independent restaurants. So the whole thing is to learn from people and lower your learning curve. That's really important. The loyalty program, my loyalty program, Royalty Rewards, I now have 8,000 members. So I've basically been adding about 1,000 members a year. And that has completely changed this business. It's allowed me to grow even through horrible times and a tough economy and competition and all those things. And the whole idea is to have a connection to your customers and to be top of mind so that they don't forget about you. Because I know when I want to go out to eat, there may be a dozen restaurants that I've been meaning to go to, but when I'm ready to go out to eat, I can't think of a single one. Another thing is to really know your customers. Know their geographical area, their average age, their political affiliations, if you can find that out, their family, their income, their religion. The more you can chisel down who your best customer is. One of the programs that this company has is a new customer acquisition program where you do exactly that. They find our top 20% of customers. They mail out a birthday card to those people. They have a different symbol on it so that we can recognize that they're not current customers. They're not a member of the rewards program, but then we try to sign them up and get them to come back. Direct marketing is, for me, it's really been the way to go. You need to send out a physical card. Email is a tool, but so many of them do not get opened because we're all so bombarded with emails that I know I'm terrible with email, and it just piles up in my box. And so it's really important to have a physical and trackable so that you can see when it comes back. You can count how many leads it gave you, or okay. One of the number one things they say, especially that Dan Kenny says, is a newsletter. Unfortunately, I have failed at the newsletter. Every year I'm like, this is the year I'm going to start going out a newsletter. And they say to do it monthly. They say that, you know, it really builds a fence around your customers. And it's not about selling. You have to write articles, an article about your life, about whatever, trying to keep them involved and make a personal connection. I have failed at that. So it's still on my to-do list. Trish and I have tried it a few times, but I'm just not responsive to it. So one thing that was really cool, I read a book by Bill Glazer, and I'm going to give you a list of recommended reading that I got a lot out of. It's a book called Outrageous Marketing. and Bill Glazer, an amazing guy. And the whole idea is to think outside the box and don't be scared to be crazy. His family had a men's clothing store in the Baltimore area that had been there for years. And business, as the malls grew and the center of business changed, their business really started suffering. And his interest was really marketing, so he developed and he tried these crazy things that really worked and set you apart. And initially he thought, oh, that's not going to work for me because I have a lot of doctors and lawyers that come in to buy suits, and it worked. So from that, I just wanted to show you one of the most successful promotions I ever did. Was a Julia Child promotion where I dressed as and it was a card that was direct mailed, and now there's a wonderful thing called Every Door direct mail, and it's I think we sent out 5,000 cards, and it goes door to door for a certain mail route. It goes to every door. A very good way to get your message out. And I don't know how much, the whole thing was a beef bourguignon, and it had an offer on it. But we sold so much beef bourguignon, we could hardly keep up with making it. And I ended up using that ad in multiple marketing. And I'm ready to do another one. I don't know what I'm gonna, I think it'll be Julia again, another one of her recipes. Another thing is slipstream marketing. Take current events, especially like elections. If there's some current story, it's to create a marketing thing that pertains to that, because it's already in people's minds, so they will have a better connection to it. One thing that we do is every presidential election, we do a pasta poll. We put out jars, and your customers, every time they come in to eat, they take a ziti or a rigatoni and they pop it in whoever they want to vote for. And it's not about who really wins. I mean, you do advertise who wins in the end, but there's so much cheating going on, it's not. I've seen old ladies dump. It's crazy. But it's it's top of mind, and people will be more open to it. One of the things that they talk about, I'm there now, is to be a lifelong student. Like I said, for many years I felt, I don't know that I felt that I knew everything, but I just stopped learning. I didn't search things out. I just wasn't open. I think I was so involved in the day-to-day, we were just kind of going along with the business. So, lifelong learning. One saying that they always go for is, help other people get what they want, and you will get what you want. Give of yourself, not about what's in it for me. And I've seen people in my group that take this to an incredible level. So it's a whole thing of be of service, and you will be more successful because of it. Another thing is to have an accountability partner. Steve and I need to be more of that. We're working on it. But the whole idea is to help you when you set goals, someone that says, hey, did you do that? And I do have an accountability partner in my mastermind group, and we talk probably once a month, and we kind of keep ourselves accountable. And I know what we set out our goals, we fax them or email them to each other, and then, you do find that you get more done. So have an accountability partner. Another thing is to think of your customers not as a one-time transaction, but as a long-term value. So we actually don't like to think of our people as customers, but as guests. And I always try to strive this to my servers and my manager and all those, that each customer, each guest has a lifetime value of about $7,000. So you don't want that person to leave unhappy with their experience. So we give, our goal is to make the guest happy. If you're not going to satisfy every guest. Some people aren't going to like what you gave them. Offer to make them something else. If they don't want anything else, take it off their bill, and try to make them happy. One thing that they stress is an increase of customer retention of 5% results in an increased profit of 25 to 125%. So really look at who your repeat customers are, and focus on that. I'm kind of a self-help junkie. being in business for myself, you don't get a lot of pats on your back, is to look back, like every year, usually around the New Year's, to look back and really look at your achievements. Because a lot of times we just move on to the next thing and we really don't appreciate what we've accomplished, and just work on that. One person I've met is Lee Miltier. Lee Miltier is a kind of a life coach, I guess. She is a contributing person to our program, so every month I get a CD from her. And she interviews other people that have written books, she's also a student of Dan Kennedy, so that's a huge group of people in different areas who have all written books, and so they interview these people, and oftentimes I'll buy the book and I'll read it, and you do get a lot of information. So the whole idea is there to learn from other people and things that you wouldn't have learned on your own. One thing she stresses is take a media break. Take time where you don't watch the news, where you don't, I mean, now on the internet you can kind of get the highlights of what's going on, so you know what's going on in the world, but so much of the media is negative, and that can really pollute your mind. So the whole idea is to fill your mind with positive things, and rather than negative, because it can have a really detrimental effect on your business. One saying they always say is, what would you do if you were not afraid? And it's good to think about that, and usually your fears are, it's not as bad as you think it would be. So I'm going to give you, all right, this is a recommended reading list. Actually, if we can just pass it around, that would be good. And these are just something kind of cool that Legal Tier, she sends out from time to time, just interesting tidbits. And usually if you take one of them and focus on it, it has good results. And that's about it. I don't know, does anybody have any questions?
What was the name of your group again that you belong to?
My group is the Restaurant Marketing Systems.
Okay.
And Rory Fatt. That's a great group. It's really odd. I've talked to, whenever I go into maybe a struggling restaurant, or I always offer to the owner if they'd ever like to sit down and talk. I found something for me that worked really, really well, because at the time I was really just making ends meet here, and I can print up some more if I don't have enough to go around. It's amazing how many people don't even take me up on it. And I don't know if they think I'm trying to sell them on something, which I'm not. It's really an amazing system that I would love to share with other restaurant owners. Some that did is, there's a restaurant in Trumbull, Tula, that is part of our Royalty Rewards program also. Tim Bashos is also part of it. And it's just, it shows you the importance. If you can find a group that's in your industry that you can get together with, that you can learn, I wish for you that you can find something that is as helpful to me as this group was.
How did you find it, Angelo?
I joined a website called restaurantowner.com, and I think they kind of work together and they share email lists or fax numbers, and I ended up getting these faxes from Rory Fatt. And I've got to say, his marketing I thought was kind of tacky. But you know what? It worked for him. And I would get these letters, at the time I would be kind of beating my head against the wall, like, what am I going to do? And I'd broken up, I'd split with my partner, which cost me a ton of money. We had just bought a house here in Newtown, and I was like, what am I going to do from here? I felt like I'd be working the rest of my life just to scrape by. And I would get these faxes that would be like, are you beating your head against the wall? And, I was like,
Where is he? He's got a camera on him.
and I was like, yes. But a lot of times he would say, well, maybe you should get out of the industry, or get out of what you're doing if you're not. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should. But what am I going to do? And really, at that time, I hated the business. I really did. And that comes across. You can't hide that, and now I love my business, and it's great to see that you can go from hating your business to loving your business, and really that's one of the things I learned from this group. It's like, don't think of yourself as a restaurant owner. Like when someone asks you, what do you do? And you say, oh, I'm a restaurant owner. You're a restaurant marketer, and really anything that takes you away from marketing your restaurant is not a good use of your time. Chopping potatoes and carrots is not a good use of your time. Doing $10 an hour work is not a good use of your time. Because if you don't do it, nobody else will. And so that's one of the things I learned. And also one of the books on the reading list is Love and Grow Rich by Tim Paulson. Tim Paulson is also a contributor to our group. He's at every meeting and he talks to us. He has great stories to tell. And he's amazing. And he wrote this book called Live and Grow Rich. And it's all about you can love what you're doing. A lot of it is just a mental state. And you've got to turn it around. And I really had to do that. And I was able to do that.
How important do you think consistency is in terms of either marketing or in other aspects of your business?
A lot. It has to do with a lot. You've got to have a plan and you've got to stick to it and don't, I mean, I know I say don't, if it doesn't work, don't do it anymore. But at the same time, you have to give it enough time. So yeah, it's amazing how many people come up to me and say, oh, you're a marketing genius. Well, they're a marketing genius. I decided what it is I wanted to offer and whether I want to send out birthday cards, anniversary cards, half birthday cards, and then it's automatic after that. And really that's key, it's got to be automatic. I don't have time to sit and think about it and print it up and mail it myself and do all of that. We just don't have time to do that in our businesses.
Yeah, I just have one thought. You said you failed at using the newsletter, and
Yeah.
here's what I found: that marketing initiatives that I've thought about and I'm not comfortable with or haven't done are either one, in my view, not important, or they just don't work for me.
Yeah.
And maybe I've missed some opportunities, but I sort of feel better about the fact that I didn't do something
Right.
that just didn't feel right to me. So I don't think of it as a failure. I think of it as a
Right.
sort of a learning process.
And that's fine, and you know what, I kind of feel the same way about it.
Mhm.
What really surprised, and now because I've seen how on the ball these people are, and that they believe it's the #1 way, makes me believe that I really ought to be doing it. And because it really works, and they all stand by it, and I do get a newsletter every month from Dan Kennedy and from Rory Fatt. Do I always read it? No. I should. So they believe it, and that's...
But are they always right? I mean, and I'm not to say that they're not the experts. I'm
And it
just
may
to
not
say
work
that-
in every industry.
Exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I think the issue is. Yeah.
But it's the top of the consciousness principle.
Yeah.
Any opportunity to move your awareness up, newsletter is one of them.
I know that in this business, it works if you put a lot of yourself into it. If I took the time to write articles myself, and people that do it successfully in the group, I mean, they swear by it. And they really are involved in their communities, and they talk about their families and their, when a grandchild is born or a baby's born, and people latch on to that. It's amazing. We're so busy that we don't have time to read it, but so many people have time, and they read every word of these things, and and they come in and. So
I was gonna say that, I get newsletters all the time and I go delete,
Yeah.
delete. I never I don't.
well,
ever
email's different.
Oh, okay,
You have to send out a hard copy, and
Hard
it's
copy.
expensive.
Really?
It's expensive to do.
Yeah.
You may not read it, but your wife may read it.
I also think that you look at you have to look at newsletters in the proper way, in the sense of, this is your opportunity. You're providing something to somebody. You're trying to give them relevant information, but you're also establishing yourself as the expert. And you will be that person that they think of when one topic on that newsletter resonates with them. And I agree that sometimes emails are easy to delete, but also you're reading stuff from other people. You should use it as a springboard. Whatever is resonating with you, realize that it can be a springboard for you to give you an idea. The toughest part, I do newsletters not as consistently as once a month, but when I'm reading someone else's thing, I digest it and see how I can try to make it apply to the customers that I know or topics that they've brought up. And if you can make it relevant, all it takes is that one article in your newsletter, and then you become the expert that they
Right.
think of.
It just puts your name in top of mind,
Yeah.
into the subconscious, like you say, become the expert. And a lot of times people look for slippage, you know, when you send out a coupon for somebody's birthday, you know, they've read it, they put it on the counter, they think about Saturday night, they go to dinner, they forget the coupon, but they
Right.
still came to Sal and Pepe's. You don't
Yeah.
want 100% redemption on your
Right.
coupons. You just want, you know, 10%, but you want people to come.
Another thing that, yeah, go ahead.
So I was gonna ask if you speak a little bit about that, you know, marketing versus advertising, branding versus call to action. Like, are all your ads an offer, or are they just about being top of the line?
All of my direct marketing that I send out has an offer on, and they're all $5 off lunch, $10 off dinner. They all have a barcode on them, so we scan it, so we can keep track, and that's key, that everything gets scanned. For every $200 you spend, you get a $10 certificate. And it's a great way to reward your top customers, the ones that are most loyal. So you don't have to say, oh, they're a good customer. You know, they're a good customer, and I should do something for them. I don't have to think about that anymore. I don't buy free drinks. I don't do any of that because they're getting rewarded if they're a good customer. The funny thing is, through this group, I can look, who are my top 100 customers? Who are my top 20 customers? They're not always the people you think they are. You know, there's one woman that comes in here and has 1 or 2 glasses of wine almost every day and has like an appetizer. I wouldn't think she's one of my top 10 customers. Yes.
Related to the newsletter, I have an online business, and everybody said, do a blog, do a blog, do a blog. I'm like, well, I don't want to do a blog. I don't want to have to write something every week. However, I did do a blog, and I've done 2. I've decided to try and do them every other week. And since I started doing that, my Facebook page has taken off. And I was really surprised.
What is the subject of your blog?
Well, the first time it was just about opening up my new business.
Oh, okay.
The second one was about how it isn't so easy to open a business, a baking business. You can't cook out of your home and all that kind of stuff. What it takes, and is it fair?
Yeah.
So, I don't know what the next one will be, but
One cool thing is they're really into writing a book is really big, and what they do with that is really cool. Lee Miltier she does these TV shows, and for people who want to have more of a national impact, she'll do these TV shows that, obviously you have to pay for them. You go on, and she'll interview you on the show, and then they take the show and they package it in such a way that they put it on CNBC, all the major networks, and once it's aired, and sometimes it's at 3 in the morning, you don't care when it airs. It's not about people seeing it as much as it is about you being able to use as seen on your website, on all your marketing material, and then you put it on there. One of the women, her name is Misty Young, she has a restaurant in Truckee, Nevada, and she's now opened 4 other ones. They're called the Squeeze In because the first restaurant was so narrow and tight you had to squeeze in, but it's a breakfast and lunch place. She's marketed herself as the best omelet on the planet. She's great on her website. She's fantastic. The whole thing is to have a niche and become the expert in that one thing. Bobby Flay ended up finding her on the internet, his group. She ended up doing a SmackDown with Bobby Flay. She has now become a restaurant consultant. Her kids have kind of taken over the business, and she's a Spitfire. Her daughter also is, and she's the CEO, and they're just doing amazing things, and so that's cool too. So that's another way of branding yourself. Should we be done? I don't know what time it is. I could go on all day. So.
Yeah, you got a few more minutes.
Well, I don't know. Are there any other questions?
I know.
I hope you found a tidbit in there somewhere.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well done.
4 days, but I took a lot of notes.
Yeah.